You're now watching Way Back Wednesday, sponsored by Davenport Auto Park, the ride of your life. And also sponsored by Flores Glass, serving the area since 1977 with residential and commercial work.
Welcome to another episode of Way Back Wednesday. I'm Randy Adcock. So glad you could be with us tonight. After last week's show, I got a call and a visit from our good friend Eric, and he was telling me he'd had a conversation with Sam Parham about a topic I have brought up a couple of times. And if you watch the show regularly, you know that I often like to reminisce about places I went and visited as a child around Rocky Mount. And one such place was a place that I could not remember the name of, only I remember it as Joe's, over off Fairview Road, when my aunt and Uncle Billy and Isabel Donaldson used to live on Rosewood Avenue. And we'd go over to visit them, and then my cousin Ricky and Jeff, my two cousins I should say, and I would walk from their house on Rosewood Avenue over to what we called Joe's at that time. I was a little bitty fella, and I don't remember very much about the place other than it was somewhere to go get a drink, a snack, hot dog. I think he sold burgers and stuff too. And so I guess Sam Parham was familiar with Mr. Joe Barrett that run the place. I think Sam ended up buying the building and that part of the business. Well, not the business, but the shopping center, I should say. So anyway, it kind of got me on the thought of, there were soda shops and little places like that all over Rocky Mount. Going back into the 40s and certainly up to the 60s and 70s. So I thought it'd be interesting to take a look back tonight at some of the local soda shops that have been around Rocky Mount. In many ways, soda shops around Rocky Mount, and I'm sure the same thing was true all over the country, but they were more than just a place to go get something to drink. They were a restaurant in many cases. They sold hot dogs, hamburgers, and various sandwiches and so forth. There was certainly a snack shop. You could buy, chips and drinks and so forth. Many of them sold cigarettes and various smoking supplies. And of course, there were in some cases, they were a beer joint. You could buy beer in some of them. And more importantly, though, I think most soda shops ended up being a gathering place where young people especially would gather, if not during the week, certainly on the Friday, Saturday night. They were regular stops, and it was just a gathering place where quite often you would get together with friends and just kind of hang out, to use a current expression that young folks like to use today, just hang out for a while. And certainly there has been more than one romance started from folks who met at a soda shop or a drive-in or something like that. So there's a lot of history in these places, and certainly Rocky Mount is no exception to that. So we're going to take a look at some of those that came into being in the 1940s and following all the way up through the 1960s. Before we get into that, though, I got an email and a phone call this week from Joyce Dantzler. Some of you may know Joyce. She's actually the curator of the Rocky Mount Railroad Museum up at the train station up there. And she sent me a nice email telling me about a couple events that are coming up, and then she called me just to follow up about the email. And so she's asked me to help promote these couple of events. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight, but basically, Lee, if you would, put up item number 1, which is just a flyer that Joyce sent me. And it's just kind of an overview, but what's going on. They're actually, and I've not been up there since this took place, but here's the flyer you see on your screen. It says, all aboard, the Rocky Mount Railroad Museum opens in the Helen P. Gay Historic Rocky Mount Train Station, 101 Coastline Street in downtown Rocky Mount. October the 8th from 1 to 4. There'll be music by Milton Bullock, formerly of the Platters. And then the following weekend, which is a Saturday, from 1 to 4, there'll be music by the Electric Image Band. And it says, activities for young and old. Be one of the first to visit the new Rocky Mount Railroad Museum. Face painting, washable tattoos, magnets, fans, coloring books, safety information, gifts, games, supermarket raffle tickets, and keychains. So, I've been up to this museum a couple times, and, it's a lot of, in addition to everything else that we can say about Rocky Mount's certainly a tobacco town. It's certainly a meal town. Agriculture has always played a big part in Rocky Mount's history. But certainly one cannot underestimate the impact of the railroad on Rocky Mount, and indeed this part of the state and the country. And so I'm glad to see this coming together. The Railroad Museum has been there for a while, but it appears anyway from my conversation with Joyce that they've done some increasing and I guess some remodeling. So I'm kind of anxious to see what it looks like in there now. So October the 8th from 1 to 4, that's on a Saturday. And then the following week, October 15th from 1 to 4, I guess it's going to be like an open house. So make plans to check it out. I'm going to try to be there on that first Saturday. I'll be out of town the second Saturday. I have a pre-planned out-of-town trip that weekend, so I won't be able to make the October 15th trip event. But I'm going to try to be there the October 8th event from 1 to 4, at least somewhere in that time frame. So if you get a chance, come on out and visit with Joyce and the rest of the folks up there at the Rocky Mountain Railroad Museum. Sure, I'd be glad to have you. Okay, so tonight's show, like I said, after talking with Eric and kind of reminiscing a bit about Joe's soda shop, as it were, over on Fairview Road, I got to looking, and I knew there were soda shops around Rocky Mount for many years. I had no idea how many there were. And so we're going to talk about a handful. There were certainly way more than what we're going to talk about tonight. So if you know of a soda shop that we don't mention, if you've got a memory of one, maybe in your neighborhood or around the corner from where you live, give us a call. 407-1111 is the number. Love to hear from you. But we'll start off tonight from August of 1943. If you would, Lee, put item number 2 up on the screen for our viewers. And this is one some of you may remember. I was not aware there was any such thing as a Center Soda Shop. It says, meet your friends at Center Soda Shop. Our fountain service is noted for being extra good. Think we're bragging? Come see for yourself. You see the address there is 140 Sunset Avenue. And I believe someone who was around in the 1940s can call and help me out here, but I believe this was in the same vicinity as the Center Theater. I don't know if it was in the same building or not. Perhaps it was right beside it. But that address, 140 Sunset Avenue, I do believe was right there in the vicinity of the Center Theater. But in August 1943, I believe is when it opened up. I didn't find an ad or a listing for the Center Soda Shop prior to 1943. And this ad appeared in the Rocky Mountain Telegram in August of 1943. Okay. Moving right along, item number 3, if you would, Lee. This was, as you see, the Quality Soda Shop. And this was the grand opening, of course. This ad appeared in September of 1946. It says, announcing the grand opening of Quality Soda Shop Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, featuring hamburgers, cheeseburgers, hot dogs, sandwiches, White's ice cream, cold drinks, White's delicious ice cream, and you see the address down at the very bottom, 576 Raleigh Street, next to Quality Grocery. So this is to kind of give you a ballpark idea of where this is. If you're going down Raleigh Street and go past the old Wright's Chit Shack and keep on going down there, it's a little ways past that, and I think it was on the same side of the street as the Wright's Chit Shack. But a block or two, I guess, would be west of that if you're heading west on Raleigh Street. So anyway, this was the Quality Soda Shop grand opening, and again, this was September 1946. Okay, Lee, if you would, then let's go ahead to item number 4. Of all the soda shops that have been in Rocky Mountain over the years, probably there's not one that was more popular with the younger generation for many, many years than the Dairy Bar. I remember hearing about the Dairy Bar as a very young child, and for many generations, it was the place to be on Friday and Saturday night. I know when I was a teenager, kids used to ride up and down Sunset Avenue. We lived out in Inglewood when I was a teenager, and so the route we took was down Sunset Avenue all the way across town over to the like Fairview Shopping Center side of town. We'd come back across town, and so that trip back and forth, my daddy would say wasting gas, but anyway, back and forth Sunset Avenue, across town, Thomas Street, back and forth. And I understand that same kind of scenario was repeated for generations, many before I came along. And certainly the Dairy Bar was a popular spot. And this was the grand opening announcement in the Rocky Mountain Telegram that appeared June the 5th, in 1947, and you see there it says announcing the opening of the Dairy Bar Incorporated, 577 Raleigh Street, next door to the Cake Box. It says tomorrow, Thursday, June the 5th. This ad appeared on the 4th. The actual grand opening would have occurred the very next day on the 5th. From 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. It says we have spared no expense to give the people of this community one of the best short order eating places. Please consider this a personal invitation to visit us tomorrow, our opening day, for the finest sandwiches, hamburgers, hot dogs, ice cream, and fountain service. The Dairy Bar Incorporated, 577 North Church Street. I said before, and this just epitomizes what most of the soda shops were, just a multifaceted business. They were certainly a restaurant in most cases, where you get hot dogs, hamburgers, and French fries, those kind of things. But it was also a little store in a way where you could buy snacks, knickknacks. Most of them sold cigarettes and so forth as well. As I said, many of them you could buy beer. They make no mention of selling alcohol here when it opened up. And I don't know for sure. I don't think they sold alcohol initially. I recall in later years they did serve alcohol. I'm not positive on that. But anyway, probably one of the more important aspects of places like the Dairy Bar, as I said, was it was a gathering place, a meeting place. People would go there and meet and talk and chit-chat. Over the years, I've heard a number of romances that got started when a young couple met in the parking lot of the Dairy Bar, and casual conversation led to more intense conversation. Oh, we got a call. Let's get this call. Hello, caller. You're on the air.
I don't think the Dairy Bar ever had anything to do with selling any alcoholic beverages.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I had thought I might have heard that they did, but I don't know. So if you say they didn't, I believe you.
I don't recall that ever being the case.
Okay. All right. That sounds fair to me. Okay, buddy. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, like I say, some of these places did serve alcohol, and we'll get into some here in a minute that actually did advertise that they served alcohol. But each one of these was individually owned. Obviously, there wasn't a chain, for example, and so the rules and the regulations and the the desires, if you will, of the owner dictated what was sold at the establishment. So some chose to sell alcohol and some did not. But in any case, Dairy Bar, as I say, was probably Rocky Mount's premier soda shop and gathering place for many, many years, certainly from the 1940s when it first got started up to the 50s, 60s, and even into the 1970s. So, for 30 years or better, close to 40 years, the Dairy Bar led the way in Rocky Mount as far as a gathering place and a soda shop type business. There was a nice article that appeared also in the Telegram on the day that Dairy Bar opened. So Lee, if you would put up the next article, next item there. And this is just the article that appeared, and it says the Dairy Bar Incorporated, Rocky Mount's newest soda shop specializing in sandwiches, hamburgers, hot dogs, ice cream, and soft drinks, was opened today at 577 North Raleigh Street. Jack McCrae is the manager of the new establishment, which occupies a brand new building next to the Cake Box. Partners in the business, in addition to McCrae, are E.E. Atkins, Lindsay Mayberry, and it just says Wheelis, I guess. Didn't mention the first name. I guess that's his last name. The Dairy Bar, at which the proprietors claim they have spared no expense in providing one of the best short-order eating places, was to be open today from 9 o'clock this morning until 11 o'clock tonight. Manager McRae said the Dairy Bar would also handle delicatessen items at a later date, but that the equipment could not be procured at the present time. So they started out selling, as it said there, basically hot dogs, hamburgers, and drinks, soft drinks, and that menu line carried them for many years, and they were, enjoyed quite a bit of success with just that line of items there. Okay, Lee. So let's go ahead then to item number 6, if we could. And item number 6 was the grand opening announcement of another. Soda shop. Thank you. My tongue got lost there. This was a combination business. You see that he was announcing the opening and readiness for business. Oh, we got a call. Let's get this call. Hello, caller. You on the air?
All right. That name you just mentioned is a result of that newspaper article in the opening day of the Dairy Bar. Lindsay Mayberry, he later on wound up running a service station up there on South Church Street at the backside of the Sanatorium Hospital. It was on the corner, right there where Nash Street crosses south of Church Street.
Was that a Gulf station?
I think it was in Atlantic. I'm not sure.
Okay.
His name was Lindsay Mayberry, and he married a woman named Janice Worsley from West Edgecombe.
Okay. All right. Good.
All
deal.
right.
All right, buddy. Thank you. Okay. So this item here appeared January of 1948. I'm sorry. December 1947. This ad you see on your screen here now. It says announcing the opening and readiness for business Wednesday morning at 8 o'clock. The Launderall Self-Service Laundry, 314 Cokie Road, opposite Edgemont School, plus, down at the bottom, a new soda and sandwich shop for your refreshment. Light lunches, hamburgers, hot dogs, and sandwiches. We invite you to visit us tomorrow, our opening day, and see how well we're prepared to serve your needs. So Mr. J.E. Delmar and Mr. W.J. Futrell were the co-owners of this, I guess, dual business here, a laundromat and a soda shop operating, I'm guessing, in adjacent space there across the street from the Edgemont School, which is now, of course, the Judicial Center over on Cokie Road. So anyway, so let's go ahead and leave, if we could, then. Item number 7 was another soda shop that opened up, and this opened in January of 1948. This was the Harris Soda Shop. And as you can see, it says now open, ready to give you courteous, efficient service. We have Gardner's Velvet Ice Cream. Many of you remember Gardner's Ice Cream was made right here in Rocky Mount. The Jim Gardner family ran the dairy and made the ice cream here locally. It says, may we have the pleasure of serving you Harris Soda Shop, formerly Tim's Soda Shop, 835 Falls Road. Now, I honestly don't remember there being a soda shop on Falls Road. This was well before my time. And I'm a little curious as to how long it was in business. I did see another ad, I think a year or two after this, but I did not recall seeing an ad for the Tim's Soda Shop. So this gentleman here, Mr. Harris, I guess, bought out Tim's Soda Shop and reopened it as the Harris Soda Shop. And as I said, this ad appeared in the Rocky Mount Telegram in January of 1948. If I'm not mistaken, I think the address, 835, I believe, is somewhere in the vicinity, probably a little bit east of where the Cap's Grocery and that intersection of Falls Road and Ridge Street. I want to say this would have been a little bit east of that. But anyway, there was a soda shop on Falls Road in the 1940s. So who remembers that? All right. I mentioned earlier that different soda shops were owned by different people, and some of them had different offerings, and certainly one that was very popular back in the early 1950s was Bob's Soda Shop, run by Mr. Bob Moore. Item number 8, if you would, Lee. And this was just a little small ad that appeared in the Rocky Mount Telegram. This appeared in November of 1950, and it caught my eye because you see at the very top it says television every night. Bob's Soda Shop, 704 Branch Street. Public's cordially invited. So Bob's Soda Shop was a gathering place, certainly. I don't know if he sold beer initially, but I did see a number of ads in later years. Not only did he sell beer, he offered a delivery service. You could actually call Bob up and order beer, and he'd bring it to you, I guess, or have someone bring it to you. So, like I said, it was each soda shop was run, on a different set of rules and a different set of guidelines. But Bob's Soda Shop, and he had a fairly large variety of offerings in addition to, soft drinks and snacks and cigarettes and milk and bread, that kind of stuff. As I said, he did sell beer too. And it was kind of unique that he had a television in the soda shop, and it says every night this television was on. So if you didn't have a TV at home, and in 1950, this came out in 1950, so there were still quite a few homes who didn't have a television. So if you didn't have a television, you wanted to watch some TV, you could go down to Bob's Soda Shop, pop a cold beer, and sit watch the TV on Bob's TV. So not a bad way to spend the evening, I guess. Okay, so I tell you what, Lee, bring it back to me. About time for our first commercial break anyway. We've got some more pictures we're going to share with you, some more advertisements, and we're going to talk a little bit more about soda shops. And I'm going to show you a really neat picture when we come back. It doesn't have anything to do with soda shops, but it's a picture I stumbled across purely by accident when I was looking for all this information on soda shops. And we've talked before about the railroad tracks downtown Rocky Mount and the number of sets of tracks there were over the years. So I found this really neat picture that takes a good look at that from the 1950s. So don't go anywhere. When we come back, we'll take a look at that and talk some more about soda shops and Rocky Mount's history with the soda shop. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more Way Back Wednesday.
I'm Daniel Moss, owner of Cornerstone Funeral Home, and I'd like to invite you and your family to give our family an opportunity to serve you in your time of need. And we offer a full line of funeral services, everything from visitations to graveside services to cremations on site with a live crematory, as well as a banquet hall to meet the catering needs of our families that we serve. We offer catering service. We offer refreshments prior to visitations and services of our family. And we want to invite you to come and experience the difference here at Cornerstone Funeral Home.
When faced with special care needs for elderly or disabled loved ones, families want compassionate, comforting care. That's Tender Touch Home Care Services' goal, providing the level of care we would expect for our own. With over 10 years of home care excellence, Tender Touch provides an array of services that keeps your loved one at home. From personal care, light housekeeping, errands, and meal preparation, to our private duty care program, which combines all of our home care offerings in one package.
Tender Touch Home Care Services, where your needs are our concern.
Just tuning in, you're watching Way Back Wednesday. I'm Randy Adcox. We're talking tonight a little bit about soda shops around Rocky Mount. When I was doing some research for tonight's show, I expected to find a half a dozen or so. I found literally 3 times that many. And so I had to kind of pick and choose which ones to share with you tonight on the show, because I knew some of you would remember some of these, and some were so short-lived, for lack of a better term, and they were opened in one year and closed the next. But there were probably no less than a couple of dozen soda shops operating in and around Rocky Mount from the 1940s up to the 1970s. And we talked about the Dairy Bar probably being one of the more well-known soda shops. Bob's Soda Shop, Bob Moore's Soda Shop, certainly another well-known soda shop. But there were others. So we'll get to talk about some more of those in a minute. But before we get to that, I stumbled across this picture from 1959. And, we got a call. Let's get this call. Hello, caller, you're on the air.
Hello, Ricky. I just let you know, you showed a picture of Bob Moore's Soda Shop.
Yeah.
I did. He also used to have a boxing ring across the road. When people want to be bad, they could go in there and show it out.
Yes, he did. And, we did a show about Bob's boxing forte. It's been a few months ago now. But, yes, Bob himself was a boxer. And he actually started amateur boxing in Rocky Mount. And for a number of years in the 1930s, Bob set up tournaments down there. And he arranged tournaments in other cities and transported boxers to and from Rocky Mount. So literally, Bob Moore got boxing started in Rocky Mount in the 1930s. So, yep, he
sure did. I used to have a friend live out there on Brant Street, and I seen a lot of people box. They thought they were bad too.
Yeah, something about a boxing match and putting on boxing gloves will kind of remove all doubt.
Sure did.
All right, buddy. Thank you now. Okay. All right. So, as I said, I was just browsing the internet tonight and going back to my old trusty well, the newspapers.com website. And I've said it before, I love this site. There's just so much information there at your disposal. A quick search on just about any given topic will just bring back tons of articles and sometimes pictures. But while I was looking for pictures of soda shop and articles and advertisements about soda shops, I ran across this picture. It's a little grainy, it's not great quality picture, but it appeared in the Rocky Mount Telegram in April of 1959. So Lee, if you would put up item number 10 for us. Excuse me, in this picture, is a picture of the widening of Main Street. And what happened was, and I'll read the caption here, and this will kind of explain it. It says, like magic, the Atlantic Coastline Railroad spur track along Southwest Main Street between Sunset and Western Avenues disappeared Wednesday. ACL workmen in one day took up the rails and ties. The track was taken up after an announcement that the ACL would give 10 feet of property on each side of its track for the widening of Main Street on both east and west sides of the track. So you see that the workers are literally taking up, they've already taken the rails up, now they're taking up the cross ties. But this happened, and this article appeared, this clipping here appeared in April of 1959, when they literally, the railroad gave the city of Rocky Mount 10 feet of property on each side of the railroad track so they could widen Main Street. And of course, in order to do that, they had to pull up a couple of spur tracks, both on the east and west side of the track, of the Main Street, I mean. So anyway, like I said, the picture's kind of grainy, the quality's not real good, but it kind of goes back to a time frame where there were more than just two north and southbound tracks on Main Street in downtown Rocky Mount. We've talked about this before. At one point, there were like, 4 or 5 sets of tracks at the south end of Main Street down there. And a couple of them, of course, spur tracks that would just kind of go off the main line. But it's hard to envision how many tracks were in downtown Rocky Mount back in those days when you look at what's there now. So I just thought it was a neat old picture and kind of a tribute to the railroad and their generosity, I guess you'd say, in giving the city of Rocky Mount an additional 20 feet to widen Main Street in 1959. Okay, all right, Lee, so let's jump back into it. Item number 10, if you would. And this is just a neat ad that appeared, and it caught my eye because it does mention a couple of soda shop and so forth. But you see the headline says, "Enjoy Inglewood Frank's, Rocky Mount's favorite food, distributed by ZB Bullock Incorporated and sold by the following quality restaurants." And I know it's hard to read on your screen, so I'm going to read these off to you. How many of these restaurants and establishments do you remember? And again, this article appeared, this ad I should say, appeared August 1959, and ZB Bullock was supplying hot dogs to all of these restaurants. Listen to this list: the Rocky Mount Meal Canteen, Caramount Meal Canteen, Adam and Robinson, Airport Luncheon, MT Dinner. MT Dinner it says. I think that's supposed to be diner. It does say dinner, but I think it's supposed to be diner. The Mano Cafe. Who ever heard of the Mano? M-A-N-O, Mano Cafe. Brown's Cafe. Brock's Cafe, B-R-O-C-K-S, Brock's Cafe. A&H Cafe. Cotton's Cafe. Pittman's Motel. Fry's Hot Dog Stand. And I'm not sure. I think that might supposed to be Fryer's Hot Dog Stand. They used to be on the corner of Hammond Street, and I guess it's Tillery Street goes across there by the old Rocky Mount Senior High School. Unless there was a Fry's Hot Dog Stand that I'm not familiar with. Anyway, Edgemont Soda Shop, Royal Palm Cafe, Bill's Grill, Bennett Restaurant, Varsity Grill, Inglewood Lunch Bar. That was Bobby Mears started that. Tiny Town Grill, Old Country Club. It says Mook's, M-O-O-K-S, Mook's Barbecue. Never heard of that before. The Hamburger Shop, Marie's Grill, Southside Cafe, White Star, Robinson's Grill, Charles Diner, Booker T Theater, Whitfield Cafe, Wright's Chicken Shack, the City Lunch, we talked about that many times on this show, Joiner's Drive-In, and the Goodie Shop, we've talked about that as well, and all the city school cafeterias. So Mr. Z.B. Bullock had his hot dogs literally all over Rocky Mountain, all these different businesses, all these different restaurants. And, hot dogs are still very popular, but certainly in the 1950s and 60s, and soda shops and sandwich shops and little restaurants and little mom and pop places all over town, hot dogs were a very, very popular item to order in a restaurant. And who knew there were so many restaurants in Rocky Mount that I'd never heard of before. Okay, Lee, let's go ahead then to the next item. Item number 11. I mentioned there were more soda shops. And in let's see here, September of 1961, the announcement of the grand opening of Harrison's Soda Shop at 131 North Church Street, located across from Sears, next to the Planters Bank branch office. So this was one that I'd never heard of, never knew it existed. 1961, I was certainly alive then, but I don't remember this place at all. But it says, featuring Rocky Mount's only self-serve coffee room, open from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. That's a long day to be open for business. Harrison Soda Shop, 131 North Church Street, across from Sears, next to Planters Bank branch office. Whoever eat at Harrison Soda Shop or had a hot dog over there? 407-1111 is the number if you want to share a memory with us, or something jiggles your memory about what we're talking about tonight. Feel free to give us a call. Okay, Lee. You know, I was talking earlier about the conversation that took place between Eric and Sam Parham, and they were talking about Mr. Joe Barrett and his real estate ownings over on the Edgecombe side, Fairview side of town. Oh, we got a call. Let's get this call. Hello, caller, you on the air?
All right, that location up down on North Church Street, across from the Sears Roebuck store,
Yeah.
and the block where the Masonic Temple was, the Planters Bank's branch office building that was there.
Right.
Those years, it was the first bank in Rocky Mount that had a drive-in window, from what I remember and understand as a small child.
Okay. Do you remember that Harrison Soda Shop?
No, I do not. But that Planters Bank branch office building that was there, kind of in the general neighborhood of where the PNC Bank is now, that was where it was located, somewhat kind of across North Church Street from the Masonic Temple.
Okay, I got you.
Right?
Okay, buddy. Thank you. All righty. Yeah, you know, there's over the years, there's been so many of these little businesses that have come and gone, and you know, progress is great. I have no real problem with progress, but I got to tell you, sometimes it's discouraging to see these old buildings just get, you know, torn down, or worse yet, to be allowed to disintegrate and just get such a dilapidated state that they're literally falling down. And so I guess if the choice is to tear them down or let them just crumble apart, it's better to tear them down. But still, you know, Rocky Mount has such a rich and diverse history. There's just so much that we've lost, you know, and the younger generation will never be known, never know about any of this stuff. If those of us who do remember don't share our memories and tell the younger generation about these businesses that used to be in town, I guess not that it really matters in the big stream of things, but still, you know, as I say, we've lost so much of our history, and it just seems like there's an ongoing effort to remove more history every day. And I'm just a firm believer that we don't own history. No one owns history. And we really and truly, in my humble opinion, just don't have a right to pick and choose what stays as part of our history and what gets stripped away and taken away from us. Okay, I'll get off my stump box for now and get back to what we're talking about here. So I mentioned the Joe's Soda Shop, and so I ran across this ad that appeared in December of 1963. So Lee, if you would, put up item number 12 for us on the screen there. And this is obviously a Christmas ad here. And it says, we're sending you our very best at Christmas, best wishes for Christmas, Joe Barrett's Oakwood Park Sundries at 329 Fairview Road. So as I was doing some reading and research, trying to find out more about Joe's operation over there, you know, it seems that he actually had his hands in several different types of businesses. He was a real estate developer, and I understand that he owned several buildings and businesses. But sadly, and I didn't realize this, he died at a fairly young age. In fact, Lee, if you would, item number 13 is Joe Barrett's obituary. And I'm going to just read this because it does kind of put a glimpse into the man himself. And it says, Joe Hilton Barrett, 56, and this appeared October 26 of 1966 in the Rocky Mount Telegram. It says, Joe Hilton Barrett, 56, developer of Fairview Shopping Center, died unexpectedly early today at his home at 817 Marigold Street. A native of Martin County, he had been a resident of Rocky Mount since 1929, When he first came to Rocky Mount, he was employed by McCall Drug Store, and for a number of years he was a partner in the city newsstand. Barrett, who retired a year ago, was the son of the late Walter Eugene Barrett and Maggie Shepherd Smith Barrett, and a member of the First Christian Church of Farmville. Survivors include his wife, Mrs. Elizabeth Hooker Barrett, a Gorham school teacher, a son, Joe Hilton Jr., a student at UNC School of Pharmacy, a daughter, Mrs. Sylvia Hooker Barrett, a Cary Elementary School teacher of Raleigh, 3 brothers, George Wilbur Barrett and Fred Smith Barrett, both of Oak City, and Walter Eugene Barrett of Ferndale, Washington. There were 3 sisters, Mrs. Wilbur Worsley of Oak City, Mrs. Douglas J. Odom of Morehead City, and Mrs. Evelyn B. Spencer of Rocky Mount. And it goes on to say that funeral service will be conducted Thursday afternoon at 3:30 at Gayo's Funeral Home Chapel. So, Joe Barrett, 56 years old, died very young, but he had in his relatively short life, I should say, for a business professional anyway, had done very well for himself, I think it's safe to say. I can't say I ever knew him personally. As I said before, I just have a faint memory of walking from my aunt and uncle's house over on Rosewood Avenue, a block or so over, to what my cousins refer to as we're going to Joe's. And we'd walk to Joe's and we would get a Coke and a pack of nabs or a candy bar or whatever. And I couldn't have been more than, 5 or 6, maybe 7 years old, very young. But I had an older cousin. My older cousin Ricky is probably 5 or 6 years older than I am now. So he would have been, him and myself and his younger brother Jeff, and we'd walk over to Joe's and of course walk back. But anyway, it was just neat to finally get a little bit of information about the store. I understand that in later years, Sam Parham came to gain possession of that property where all that used to be. And so anyway, it's a neat little part of history of Rocky Mount in that part of town over there. Okay, Lee, let's go ahead then if we could. Last 2 weeks we were talking about service stations and gas stations, and both weeks we ran out of time. And there was a couple of these I just wanted to kind of go back and revisit. These were articles we didn't get to, I should say, newspaper ads and so forth that we didn't get to over the last couple of weeks. So the one you're looking at now is just it's actually an ad that appeared in August of 1965, and it's talking about People's Oil Company, of course, was the jobber for Amoco dealers in Rocky Mount. And so this is a list of dealers as they would have appeared in Rocky Mount in 1965. And as you can see, there were quite a few. Amoco Service Shop at 821 North Church Street, Marshman's American Service. Oh, we got a call. Let's get this call. Hello, caller.
Randy, good evening.
Good evening, Bob. How you doing, buddy?
Just fine. Hilton Barrett, you just mentioned. He was the son of Joe Barrett.
Right.
And Hilton was my patrol leader in Boy Scout Troop 108, sponsored by Rocky Mount Civitans.
No kidding.
Yeah, his mother was a school teacher, and I remember her at Bassett School. She was not my teacher, but I remember her being there at that time frame. Mm-hmm. And just enjoying the show and remembering some things, and keep up good work.
Well, thank you. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it here.
Okay.
Have a good night. Okay. Yeah, to me, that's one of the things that I find most enjoyable about hosting this show each week is hearing your memories and your thoughts, because a lot of this stuff was obviously before my time. And so it's always good to me to hear from you, the viewer, and when you can share a memory that you have about some of the topics that we discussed on the show, it just makes it all better for me. So I thank you for that, and I appreciate you tuning in and watching each week. So back to these Amoco stations, they were, Eric made the comment to me a week or so ago that in some cases, some neighborhoods, at a intersection where 2 streets cross, there may be a gas station on 3 of the 4 corners there. And I don't think that was an exaggeration. I mean, in some cases that was literally the case. It was certainly very common for there to be 2 gas stations on 2 corners of a intersection. But they were much like the soda shops. They were part of the local communities, and so Each community, each neighborhood had at least one and sometimes several gas stations, and they provided more than just the ability to purchase gas. You know, most of them also ran some minor automotive repair offerings, whether it be changing a belt or a hose, or changing out a battery, or light bulbs, windshield wiper blades, those kind of things. And it was a part of Americana that we've sadly gotten away from, and you just don't see these kind of stores and these operations anymore. But there was, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 Amoco stations that were listed here in and around. Now, there's one here in Pine Tops and one in Whitaker's, even one listed in Tarboro. But the point is, they were very plentiful. This was just happened to be Amoco, but there were a lot of them around. And, Amoco was just one brand. There were several brands that were available back then. The next item, Lee, item number 14, that was 14. I think we're at number 15 now. This was an ad that appeared in October of 1967. I apologize, it's a little bit dark, but you can see, I think, most of it. This was actually, who remembers Gold Bond stamps? This was a promotional thing going on with the local Spur stations. Oh, we've got a call. Let's get this call. Hello, caller, you're on the air.
All right, the picture you just showed up there about Warren's Tire Service on May Drive.
Right.
They were the people who had the Amoco service station in the 50s across the street from where the Central Cafe is now. They were an Amoco service station, and they also had some retreading equipment, recapping car tires in the mid-1950s. I think that article you just talked about was in the 60s.
Mm-hmm. It was.
Two Warren brothers moved from South Church Street out there to where they were at later.
Mm-hmm.
They recapped car tires in the back of that service station.
Yeah, that's an offering you don't see anymore, isn't it?
That's right. They're not going to recap tires that are out there now for passenger cars.
Right. And
right.
Okay, buddy. Appreciate it. We'll see you. Yeah, that's a lost art, if you will. I don't know of anyone locally now or in the state, for that matter, that recaps passenger car tires anymore. I think some of the big trucks you can still get retread tires for those, but yeah, passenger car tires and they're just like so many other things. They went the way of the horse and buggy. Okay, so the Spur Station Lucky Spur promotion here was going on. As I said, this ad appeared October 1967. And they were giving away the Gold Bond stamps. It says, stop in at your Spur station today and pick up your free Lucky Spur game card. It's worth up to 5,000 extra free Gold Bond stamps. Just rub a silver coin over the 3 windows at the top of the card. A magic message is revealed to tell how many stamps you've won. And so this was your first scratch-off tickets, I guess. Take a coin and scratch off the top there and reveal how many Gold Bond stamps. And my grandmother dipped snuff, and many of you knew someone who did, but I remember that she would get S&H green stamps, and at the time it seemed like somewhere over off behind maybe where Kentucky Fried Chicken on 301, they're behind the car dealership now, there was an S&H green stamp store, as I recall, back up in there. And I just have some very vivid memories of my grandmother having her little booklets, as she would get S&H green stamps off the side of the snuff can. She would lick them and stick them in a little book. And when she'd get a book full, she'd sit that one aside and open up a new book. And over a period of months of buying and dipping, she always bought Two Bros Snuff. Who remembers that brand name? That was her brand. But there was a couple stamps on the side of the container. You peel them off, and they were adhesive back. You just lick them one time like a regular postage stamp, stick them in the book, and then when you got the book full, you could take it down to the S&H Green Stamp store and trade it in for a coffee pot or an alarm clock. Oh, we got a call. Let's get this call. Hello, caller. You're on the air.
Randy, the Gold Bond stamps were also issued at the Colonial Grocery Store at Tarrytown.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, did it work? I'm sorry, go ahead.
I would say that was a competitor, of S&H green stamps.
Okay. Did it work the similar way? I mean, did they have little booklets too so you could fill up with stamps and then trade them in for prizes?
Right, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I can't say I remember the gold bond stamps, but I have some very vivid memories of the S&H green stamps. I sure do. Okay, Bob, appreciate it, buddy.
More popular. Okay.
All right, have a good night. All right. Yeah, and in these stations, they had all kind of promotions, and that was the point I was trying to get to. It wasn't just about getting you to come in and buy some gas from them. They had these promotions going on, and some of them. Remember from the shows a couple of weeks ago, we talked about some of them giving away kids, beach balls and that kind of stuff. But as time went on, the prizes got better, and they certainly awarded more valuable prizes too. And we had more grand openings. So let's see, Lee, if you would, let's go to item number 17. That was 16. Yeah, item number 16. I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself there. Item number 16 was, there you go. As I said, the prizes got better as time went on. And this ad, let's see, I think this one appeared 1965. No, I'm sorry, People's Oil Company. This one appeared in 1966, it looks like. Anyway, you see there, win Corvettes, Camaros, and $1 million in cash. Play Americans' exciting new game, Winner's Circle. And of course, it was sponsored by People's Oil Company. And I'm sure there was some co-op going on here between the oil companies and distributors themselves. Okay, let's get this call. Hello, caller, you're on the air.
Yes, getting back to the soda shop thing, I can remember as a child, it was just the late 50s, my mama would take us children to town, to Main Street, and buy clothes for school.
Right.
And we'd always go to the soda shop at the either Rose Drug Store or Almonds Drug Store. They both had soda shop counters in there, and you'd get a fountain drink and a pimento cheese sandwich or something like that. And so, anyway, that reminded me when you were talking about soda shops.
Yeah, and that was very common, very popular. I have some very similar memories going to the Sunset Pharmacy. They were by the old Dairy Queen before you get to the City Lake coming down Thomas Street. So, but yeah, a lot of the drugstores did have a little soda shop area there within the store, and a lot of good memories in those stores for sure. Okay, caller, thanks for calling in. We appreciate you.
Okay, yeah. Too, I wanted to say, like when the railroad tracks got taken up.
Yes.
Well, my mom would take us to town, like she'd go in and go shopping, and she'd leave us in the car, and we'd watch the trains go through and watch them taking up the tracks. This was in like 1959 or somewhere around there.
That's right.
And anyway, if your mama did it now, they'd get arrested leaving children in the car. But I mean, back in them days, Rocky Mount was a safe place.
Yeah, it was. You're right, and it's a shame that things have deteriorated, for lack of a better word, to the point they have. But you're exactly right. That would be considered child abuse now to leave kids in the car while the mother went shopping. Okay, look, thanks for calling in. Thanks for watching the show. We appreciate your viewership.
Amen. Bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, that was, as the caller said, I myself remember going downtown and Mom saying, okay, I'm going to run in Belk's here and pick up something, or going to run in here and one of the other stores, so hang out here in the car if you want to go with me. And sometimes I'd go with her, sometimes I'd stay in the car. But, that's certainly something that you don't do anymore. I mean, that would be considered, as I said, child abuse now, to leave a child in the car while you went shopping inside a department store. And in all truthfulness, it's a different time, and obviously it wouldn't be a safe thing to do. So anyway, okay, so let's see. That was number 16. All right, Lee. So let's go to item number 17. And I mentioned the grand openings. 1960, if you remember last week, we talked about the 1960s being the year of the grand opening of Rocky Mount. And heaven forbid, there was a bunch of grand openings. But it didn't stop in 1960. It carried on. And in 1970, they announced a grand opening. It was a 3-day event. It took place on a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in January of 1970. And this was the Tiger Station at 822 North Church Street. which was next to Pridgeon Tire Company. We mentioned this last week also. You know, Pridgeon Tire Company, there beside Carolina Cafe, also used to do retread tires there. And so this station was right there beside Pridgeon Tire Company. And the awning of the gas station is still there. In fact, I was over that way today. And that awning for the old Tiger gas station, where it used to be above the pumps, is still there. And but in 1970, this ad appeared in Rocky Mountain Telegram, and regular gas was 27.9 cents a gallon. How about that? High test was 30.9 cents a gallon. Now, I don't know how much they had discounted the price of the gas for this grand opening event. I doubt it was very much. I mean, maybe a couple of pennies. But the point is that in 1970, you could buy gas for 30 cents a gallon. And here on this particular grand opening day, you could buy high test for 30 cents a gallon. So, and you see they had free favors and refreshments. And it says in fine print there, under the management of William Robinson. For some reason, that name rings a bell to me. Maybe some of you know Mr. Robinson. I feel like I should know him from somewhere. I'm wondering if maybe I may have sold him parts when I worked at Davis & Company Auto Parts in the later 70s. But in any case, William Robinson's name rings a bell for me for some reason. I'm just not quite sure why that is. But this ad appeared, as I said, in the Rocky Mountain Telegram, January of 1970, marking the grand opening of the Tiger gas station at 822 North Church Street. Okay, Lee, let's go ahead then, if you would. Next item, number 18. And I mentioned earlier about co-op advertising, and that was quite common. And sometimes it was, you know, more than just different gas stations. And this ad appeared also in October of 1970. And it was a co-op ad, and several of these stations I remember. Heck, I worked at one of them. But anyway, Fairview Service Station, Johnson's Garage at 785 Nashville Road, Tom Moore's Garage, Transmission Specialist at 118 Marigold Street. I think that was right down there in the vicinity of the city lunch. I believe it's somewhere in that 100 block anyway. Would have been very close to Main Street. But I can't say I remember that garage. But anyway, Tom Moore had a transmission garage down there at 118 Marigold Street. Carolina Service Station, batteries, accessories, minor auto repairs, J.E. Council owner, 1730 Sunset Avenue. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that was Tootsie, that Tootsie Council, but it doesn't say Texaco. But I think that's where Tootsie Council's Texaco gas station was. Inglewood Golf Service, tires, batteries, wheel balancing. Charlie Mills was the owner, 2510 Sunset Avenue. D&M Auto Service, Jenkins, Phillips 66. Clarence Jenkins, I knew him, 900 Raleigh Road. Tarver Street Golf. Whitley's Garage, Battleboro Garage. I mentioned Inglewood Phillips 66 on last week's show. A bunch of us young boys who lived in and around Inglewood in the 60s and 70s worked there. A lot of fond memories of Milton Bunch and Sam Hale and some of the other guys who worked over there. It was a good, you know, way to pick up some good part-time money for a lot of us kids who were either still in school or just out of school and didn't have a regular quote-unquote full-time job yet. Places like Inglewood 66 was a good place to pick up a little money on the side. Oh, we got a call. Let's get this call. Hello, caller. You on the air?
All right. Right in the middle of that screen right now where it's Tarver Street Golf.
Mm-hmm.
That is the location where the George T. Burnett house used to sit. And it was operated in those years by Mr. Todd, T-O-D-D. He had a son that finished high school with me in 1962.
Okay.
He left here and went to Bradenton, Florida, and became a very large commercial tomato grower.
No kidding.
That's right.
Okay.
It was a Gulf station that was there. It came no doubtably after the George T. Burnett house was taken down, and Coma Oil Company was the oil jobber dealing with Gulf products in the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
The 50s.
Right, okay. I know where this is at. We talked about this location on a prior show a couple of weeks ago, as a matter of fact. Yep, you're right.
The oil company later wound up buying that property, but in the 50s it belonged and was operated as a Gulf service station.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, buddy. Appreciate you. Okay. So, and then of course there was a Tarver Street, Esso, and Lindy's Golf at 230 South Church Street. So, you know, these different types of businesses would be approached by the advertising people at the Telegram, and they would participate in these co-op ads. And it's a good way. We got a call. Let's get this call. Hello, caller. You on the air?
Yeah, man, right there where Josh Bull Barbecue used to be on Cookie Road.
Yes, sir.
There used to be a little service station right there that was called XS Percy. He ran that little service station there, but all he pumped was gas.
Okay. And it was there beside Josh Bullock's?
Outside Josh Bull on Cookie Road.
Okay. I didn't realize that. I remember Josh Bullock's, but I didn't remember the gas station.
You know, a little small building right there.
Okay. All right. Appreciate that, partner. Have a good evening.
You too.
All righty. Yeah, you know, these little gas stations and little community, I keep using the term community because that's what they were. They were community businesses. A lot of times the owner lived in the same neighborhood where his service station was located or certainly close to it. And so, you know, they became part of the community. And most of the neighbors knew the owner on a first name basis. You know, it was a time when you would, you know, send your gas station attendant a Christmas card or, you know, drop him off a turkey at Thanksgiving or something like Christmas perhaps. Anyway, let's go ahead and leave the next item. Item number 19 is an announcement that appeared in the Rocky Mountain Telegram in October of 1970. Also, this was another co-op ad. And you see here, your mobile station now honors Bank AmeriCard, MasterCard, and BP gas station, BP credit cards. It says, seize these three stations: Lynch's service station, Rose's service station, and West Thomas Street mobile station. And again, it was just a way for these businesses to share expenses, get some good advertisement out there to the public, and draw people into their individual stations. So they weren't so much competing with each other as they were competing against other brands. So a lot of the brand name stations would co-op advertise together. So you might see one ad that would have, for example, in this case, 3 different BP stations. Other ads would appear with 3 or 4 Phillips 66 stations or Texaco stations or Pure stations or whatever. So co-op ads were a way to go. Don't see that too much anymore either, unfortunately. Okay, so where are we at, Lee? That was number 18? 19? Okay. All right, this next picture is actually something I stumbled across, and I know it's hard to see on your screen, but I just wanted to share this with you because it caught my eye, and the caption says, "Mill chimney coming down. The 161-foot chimney of Rocky Mount Mills is on its way down to a level of 55 feet. Work was started on the stack August 2nd and is expected to be completed within the next 10 days. This article appeared in the Rocky Mount Telegram August of 1956. And I never knew that smokestack used to literally be another 110 feet taller than it is today. But in 1956, they decided to shorten the smokestack at Rocky Mount Mills from its previous height of 167 feet down to 55 feet. Now, I'm going to tell you, in 1956, that was some undertaking to be able to reduce the height of a smokestack by over 110 feet without collapsing the entire thing into a pile of rubble at the bottom. There was some engineering took place there. So, folks, that's going to do it for us tonight. Lee, bring it back to me. I want to thank those who called in and shared your memories with us. It's always my pleasure to hear from you. We had a few more that we didn't get to tonight. We're trying to get those. We'll take one more call before we go off there. Hello, caller, you're on the air.
All right, very quickly.
Yes, sir.
167 feet for that smokestack at the Rocky Mountain Mills. At that time, it would have been taller than the water tank over there near the Rocky Mountain Post Office. Goodbye.
Have a good night. Goodbye, my friend. We'll see you later. All right, folks, thanks so much again for watching. Have yourselves a great week. Be kind to one another. We'll see you next week with more Way Back Wednesday. Good night.
On a Cornerstone Funeral Home, and I'd like to invite you and your family to give our family an opportunity to serve you in your time of need. And we offer a full line of funeral services, everything from visitations to graveside services to cremations on site with a live crematory, as well as a banquet hall to meet the catering needs of our families that we serve. We offer catering service. We offer refreshments prior to visitations and services of our family. And we want to invite you to come and experience the difference here at Cornerstone Funeral Home.